Ethiopians became the third largest national group of African immigrants to immigrate to the United States. They started immigrating in the early 1980s. It all started when the monarch of Ethiopia was overthrown by a military dictatorship. When the dictatorship came, they were so brutal, they killed thousands of people, and that's when Ethiopians started to leave their country in droves to neighboring countries. When the refugees arrived in the US, they had no resources and little education. Some live with other family members or get sent to homeless shelters. Then they get introduced to public housing neighborhoods such as Yesler, Rainier Vista, New Holly, and etc. The benefits of SHA is they provide housing, translators, and counselors for the community. However, for East African youth, growing up in a low-income neighborhood has also presented some challenges, such as underfunded local schools and the temptation of illegal activity.
Bad things, people were selling drugs, people were smoking and doing drugs, and you have to just figure your way out. You have to wiggle around, growing up, and when we start seeing the effects of poverty in the neighborhood and how other people reacted to poverty, and put us in a position where we had to go get things on our own, at a young age. Put us in a position where we felt like the world was against us and we rebelled. We rebelled against everybody to try to get what we want.
But Yesler terrorists also offered multiple ways in which the East African community could maintain their cultural heritage. Every Thursday, for example, they cook and eat lunch together in the community center. Activities such as basketball and Yesler Terrace Youth Media ensure that young people can be together in healthy and constructive ways.
It's good to live here, because there's a community here and the people around me, all Ethiopians and Africans, and it's good.
It's close to downtown, so my wife works downtown. I work in Seattle too, so it's easy and it's affordable. I live in a tax-credited house.
Well, there was a summer basketball team every year, and it was like it got us super close, like everyone who lived here. It was a tight-knit community.
As kids growing up in a neighborhood, you want that outside togetherness with your neighbors and having fun, and that's what we got. We had a lot of that growing up. We had our whole neighborhood was really tight in that it wasn't like the separate parts of Yesler were separated like how Rainier Vista is. It's more it's unified.
I really hope Yesler continues to treat new people the way many treated me and to provide for more programs during the summer like Yesler Terrace Youth Media, tutors at the Epson Opportunity Center, and other programs for youth.
It was easy to socialize and very convenient to get around, whereas now it's more divided and harder to communicate and just doesn't feel as united.
Now, due to the redevelopment, everything feels completely different. It feels like my friends and I are more separated from one another. I also wonder if the redevelopment will make it harder for the East Africans to maintain their strong sense of identity and community.
I'm Zaytun Mohammed. I lived in Yesler for about 9 years. Because of the redevelopment, I've had to move twice. In 2016, my family moved to an apartment building on Rainier Avenue. It was a 20-minute bus ride south of Yesler Terrace. I started high school that year at Franklin High, which meant I couldn't go to the same school as my friends. Then, in 2019, my family moved again. My mom didn't like the neighborhood in Rainier, so now we live in West Seattle. Going into my senior year, I would have to take a bus ride for an hour to get to Franklin. But that's better than starting over at a new high school. Most of my old friends from Yesler Terrace now live all over the city. I've lost touch with them. I don't see them anymore. I had to learn to get used to the new environment, make new friends, and start a new life. My new home in West Seattle is missing a good community. I wish there was more engagement with my neighbors so that people could get to know each other more. When I left Yesler Terrace, I was 13 years old. There were so many kids in the neighborhood. In the summer and after school, we ran around outside and visited each other's homes and backyards. Most of our moms stayed home during the day, so all the adults knew all the kids' names. As children, we knew we were being watched. Everyone knew everything. Recently, I asked my mom why we didn't move back to Yesler Terrace. She said it was because Yesler became too expensive and we couldn't afford to live here anymore. Even though I wanted badly to come back, I understood why we couldn't. Looking back, I realized that living in Yesler Terrace taught me a lot. I learned that community is really important. So now as I move forward in my high school and beyond, I will always work hard to bring together a community of my own. Yesler Terrace was a really diverse neighborhood, so my friends were from everywhere, and most spoke at least 2, if not 3 languages. This diversity is so important to me, and I will always try to have friends from all over the world.
Since the 1990s, Seattle's rent has been on the rise, but it wasn't until the 2010s that the rent inflation became particularly steep. The cost of living in Seattle had become worrisome for the low-income working classes. The redevelopment of Yesler represents a citywide displacement crisis that will continue as long as the median rent continues to rise. This is the first-hand account of someone who has witnessed and experienced Seattle's affordable housing crisis, forcing people out of their homes.
People can't afford to continue to live. People who were born and raised here and have had generations of family members in this area, in particular here in Yesler Terrace and the central area, can't afford to continue living here anymore. They're being pushed out.
Here is an elderly Yesler resident's take on how the redeveloped Yesler has helped alleviate Seattle's affordable housing crisis.
In the low-income housing, only half of the people who are there are original Yesler. The other half are people whose incomes may be slightly higher or not. A lot of them are people who are also extremely low income and have Section 8 certificates that they can't find anything in the private market that is inexpensive enough to rent. So ultimately we're going to end up with probably close to twice as many extremely low income residents in this neighborhood.
This is a council member's account of what the affordable housing crisis means for the city of Seattle.
We don't want the kind of disruption and displacement and gentrification that we have seen through the tearing down of the existing Yesler good quality public housing. Then we're going to need to fight for good quality public housing, except not in small amounts, but in massive amounts, because this is a city that is reeling under a massive affordable housing crisis. The solutions for this crisis have to be at the scale of the problem.
And this is not just Yesler, this is Seattle, this is the state, this is national, is that there is so very, very little affordable housing. And if you are extremely poor and cannot afford market rate housing, the wait to get in is now 4 to 5 years. When I needed it, I was in 3 months. People who needed it then were in 3 months. So they did not have to run out of the possibility of friends who'd let them sleep on the couch. The basic public myth is that people move into public housing, they're there when they die, and their grandchildren are on the street corner selling drugs because they grew up in public housing. Okay. Average stay in public housing before the housing market got so tight was 3.5 years. People would move in, they'd get a job, they'd get a promotion, they'd get a car, they'd get another promotion, and they'd move out.
I was scared of dentists and the dark. I was scared of pretty girls and starting conversations. All my friends are turning green. Yeah, the magician's assistant in their dream. Down to the riptide, taken away to the dark side. I wanna be your left-hand man. I love you when you're singing that song, and I got a lump in my throat 'cause you're gonna sing the words wrong. Is this movie that I think you like? This guy decides to quit his job and head to New York City. This cowboy's running from himself. She's been living on the highest shelf. And they come unstuck. Lady, running down to the riptide, taken away to the dark side. I wanna be your left-hand man. I love you when you're singing that song, and I got a lump in my throat 'cause you're gonna sing the words wrong. I just wanna know if you're gonna stay. I just gotta know. I can't have it any other way. I swear she's destined for the screen. Closest thing to Michelle Pfeiffer that you've ever seen. Oh, lady, running down to the riptide, taken away to the dark side. I wanna be your left-hand man. I love you when you're singing that song, and I got a lump in my throat 'cause you're gonna sing the words wrong. Oh, lady, running down to the riptide, taken away to the dark side. I wanna be your left-hand man.
Do I sing a song? Oh lady, running out the riptide, taking away to the dark side. I wanna be your left-hand man.
Period, sis! It's a wrap.
Yesler Terrace was the first public housing area in Seattle. It is a melting pot, an area full of diversity, which has now faced issues of gentrification as big business expands in the city. As you may know, Yesler Terrace has been going through a redevelopment over the last decade. Over the last 6 years, Yesler's original houses have been demolished and been replaced for apartment complexes, making the area more expensive than it used to be. Seattle Deli was a local Vietnamese deli that had been on 12th Avenue for about 17 years. It was a very affordable deli. Everything was usually under $5. They sold sandwiches, bubble tea, egg rolls, and many more. Seattle Deli has been recently displaced. The entire corner, including Apple Eye Clinic and Massage Place, was recently demolished and redeveloped for a 9-story market-price apartment building with a restaurant, bar, and cafe and bike shop. This is a part of the controversial redevelopment of Yesler Terrace. The property was sold in May 2019 for $3.5 million and closed in June 2019. Here are some interviews from Yesler Terrace residents about how they were connected to the Seattle Deli.
Yeah, it's a little deli down the street from my house, and we used to go there a lot. I remember getting the bubble tea and like the little Vietnamese sandwiches and the egg rolls and the candy there.
It was like an area where they sell sandwiches, bubble tea. It was like a really good area where all my friends would just go and eat there.
It's a very great bubble tea and chicken sandwiches and all that restaurant, and it was great.
I just think that everything is getting sold to become like big apartment buildings, and I don't think that that's really gonna help a lot of people, especially like in the business life.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate to hear. I mean, some things come and go, so I mean, it's part of life, but at the end of the day, I mean, what could we do about it? But it was sad to hear, though. It was a very great place. I loved going there. I don't know. Hopefully I can find another great spot like that soon around this area. But yeah.
6 years ago, another local restaurant named Saba was interviewed by Yesler Youth Media. Her restaurant was located on 12th Avenue. It was very popular within the East African community. Currently, she has been evicted and has not been able to return to the area.
Went to Saba restaurant to interview the owner, Worke, on her thoughts about the redevelopment.
I think they send us first that they're going to start building and they're going to clean up the yard waste and stuff. So they send me a letter, they're going to start building. And they will give us, they said, for the minority, they will help. They will give us the first choice, which is nice. I'm happy, to develop the areas. Since I've been here, I see a lot of changes, which is nice. We'll get more new customers, and now we have a new trend coming through, and they're going to start building in front of our restaurant. Will be the more it grows, the more the business will be success. I see it that way.
Even though change can be a good thing, Yesler Terrace's small businesses like Seattle Deli and Saba are being shut down and relocated because of the community's redevelopment. It's important to maintain the community's small businesses and neighborhood identities as the city of Seattle grows.
Yesler isn't a community anymore. It's more of a neighborhood full of buildings and different kinds of people, but it's not like those people interact. It's seen that we interact and we're supposed to interact, but in all actuality, we don't. I feel like all those people just want to chill in their houses and don't step out to learn about the history or what was there before them and the people who are here now. I don't think that they show any interest in us or the real Yesler unless they're really invested in it, but yeah.
My name is Fahmi.
My name is Vinay.
My name is Bilal.
My name is Jennifer Carey.
Rueda Ahmed.
Joe.
My name is Sherry.
My name is Eduardo Cruz.
My name is Mohammed.
My name is John. I just moved here a couple months ago, so I'm still fresh here.
About 2 months.
I've lived here for a year, so I moved in actually like this day 1 year ago. So
we moved in last August.
A month.
I think I've been here for 2 weeks. It was very recent.
I lived in Yesler my whole life. I lived here for 15 years.
I lived in Yesler for about 10 to 11 years.
I've been working at Yesler 6 years now.
I've been living in Yesler for like 4 to 5 years now.
Kick down and swallow the show. Here we go.
How do you like the environment?
It's very family oriented and very community based. I like that.
Well, I think obviously I like the building, but upon arriving here, it was pretty clear that we're at like the bleeding edge of gentrification, which I'm not too comfortable with. But if anything, it's inspired me to learn more about what existed here and invest in community and like in businesses that help maintain the culture.
Admittedly, I work downtown, so I didn't spend that much time here while I was working. But yeah, I've liked the neighborhood so far.
I like it a lot. I like that there's a lot of different people around. I like the fact that there's like lots of activity. You know, there's a park right across the street, and it's always full. I teach really close to here, and a lot of my students will come to the community center to play basketball after school. So I like it.
Yeah. I think it's a good neighborhood. I haven't really got to know many of my neighbors yet because I'm relatively new here, but it's a very welcoming community.
How do you feel living in a mixed income area?
Being able to interact with just different diverse backgrounds. That's what people need. I like it. I think that from my experience living in Chicago, you sort of see this wave of like people with a lot of money coming in and pushing people out to the edges of the city or outside of the city, and I like the fact that there's like work being done to kind of stop that push.
I mean, I feel like the new residents, they don't care. Like, we don't even see them that much, really. I don't know any people from like the Vulcan building, like Batik and stuff like that. I don't know anybody from there, and usually I don't see them. Like, I walk by it a lot every day after school usually, so I really don't see them stepping into Yesler. They just pull up in their car, go in the garage, and just go home, you know? Like, they don't have to enter Yesler, you know? Like, you know, they have money to do what they want.
Now we got, we're mixed with low income and market rated. Back then it was all low income, so everyone knew the struggle. Now we got people who make 6 figures living next to us.
I would say it's a good thing, but also a bad thing.
looking at I was looking at the master plan for the Yesler Terrace, and like it says like 80% would be like high income, so and like only 20% would be low income. So that population is like very different. So like having that's just like not equal. If it was like a 50-50 type of thing, that would be okay. But there would be like the next few years there would be more people high income than low income families. So that's the bad part.
What is negative about the new Yesler?
But for me, it's just working here at the community center for the past 6 years. I've seen a lot of families that was here that moved on and live in other community places right now.
But like now that I feel like in our buildings we're very like lonely, I guess, because no one comes out, I guess, to their neighbors and stuff, and everywhere is locked, so you can't really I guess go to the 7th floor to go see a neighbor because like you don't have access to it.
The things they have special things, like they got a rooftop where low income don't have a rooftop. They got a game room, they got a computer room, they got everything in their apartments. Where does low income have? A community room that's closed unless you rent it out.
Feels like reborn would be a good word to use, because it's just, if I were to walk down here 6-7 years ago, it would look dramatically different. And there's a lot of new stuff, and kind of excited to see what comes into these areas. So I think reborn would be a good word to use.
We have seen all the changes of Yesler Terrace. We have been through highs and lows, but some things that has caught our eyes was that our community has been affected the most. The sense of community is slowly fading away.
New people are moving in, and I feel like this might kill the heart, beauty, and soul of our community. It may not be their fault, but it's making Yesler Terrace a place that does not feel like home.
We see people leaving and not returning. This is because of how Yesler has redeveloped and changed. Gentrification has played a big role in this remodeling.
This film shows how the redevelopment is affecting community members. We asked a series of questions. Our goal was to see the difference in opinions of the new residents versus the residents that have been here their whole lives.
The future of our diverse community depends on the connection between the new and old residents. Unity can bring us together, and that is what needs to be seen in our beautiful, welcoming, diverse, historical, and loving community.
Wait.